Okay, so self-made millionaire, here are 8 things rich people do differently that make them ultra wealthy. I think it's important to note here that the author of this article is Grant Cardone, Mr. 10X himself. Let's go through these 8 things and give my perspective as a small business owner that does home improvement and contracting. Number 1, they don't diversify their investments right away. I think the key part here is right away. I think that most millionaires eventually, as their career grows and expands, they do diversify. But I do believe that for most small business owners, the thing that we should be focused on is our small business. It's the thing where we can have the most returns on our investment, and trying to do 100 different things. And one day you're doing real estate, the next day you're doing a different side business, the next day you're doing a restaurant. All those distractions ultimately lead to the demise of the original thing you started. Because of the shiny object syndrome, so many entrepreneurs get distracted by a whole bunch of different investment opportunities. And as the famous saying from Mark Cuban says, diversification is for idiots. Number 2, they know that debt is for businesses, not people. I like this one simply due to the fact that not all debt is bad. According to someone like Dave Ramsey, you should stay at debt all times. He only pays cash for his real estate. But for the vast majority of people that don't have the amount of income that he has, they're not going to be able to invest in something like real estate without using leverage. And typically in your business and you're investing, using some sort of leverage is not a bad thing. It's when you use it for personal items like a fancy car or a fancy new iPhone that you just upgraded 6 months ago, and now you're getting another one. Those type of personal assets that depreciate very, very quickly do not produce any more dollar amount or value in terms of income to you. Those are the ones I'd be staying away from. And those are the things that unfortunately typically lead to a recession, is when consumer debt on things like cars and watches starts to go up. Number 3, he says that home ownership isn't always their first investment. I'm a big believer in this one, because if you look at the down payment on a house, and everyone's been sold the middle-class American dream of buying a house. If you look at the average house of $400,000 and you're going to get a conventional loan, say $100,000 down, if you spent that $100,000 in your small business, there's a very good likelihood that you could double the size of your company. And if you put that money into marketing, training your team, expansion, doubling your business adds a whole lot more value to your net worth than buying a piece of real estate that's typically going to go up a few percent on average annually, year over year. And so again, you got to remember that small business is an incredible investment vehicle. And so to think that you can take a $10,000 to invest in your business and make it into $20,000, that doubles the money. That same return in a piece of real estate, doubling your money, could take much, much longer. So I agree that your first investment is typically not going to be home ownership. It should be your business. But home ownership is definitely something, especially once you have a family, having that safety, security, and the fact that you're putting your money in from one pocket into the other when you pay the mortgage is definitely a good thing. Instead, this is his 4th one. Instead, cash flow real estate is the place to protect and grow money. So I think this is a massive amount of, Grant Cardone is writing this. He owns Cardone Capital, where they do buy and hold, and he raises money from investors in the public. And so I think there's a lot of sway here in his mentality. I don't believe that investing in real estate is the only way to grow your wealth. I don't believe that only passive income through real estate long-term holding is the only way to grow your businesses, your income, and your net worth. Millionaires, yes, many of them are invested in real estate, but the far more majority of them are investing in their businesses. And so I think it just comes down to whether or not you want to diversify into real estate that cash flows. But I definitely do not believe that only real estate is the investment vehicle to become wealthy, and passive income, long-term buy and hold is also not the only way to do it. There's a multitude of ways to get wealthy, and the vast majority of small business owners should focus on their business first if they want to build exorbitant amounts of wealth. Number 5, they always buy in bulk. I'm not really sold on this one. Basically saying that anything without an expiration date, he's going to buy in bulk. This would be things like toothpaste, bottled water, I guess. Anything that doesn't have expiration, you're going to buy in bulk. I'm not a big believer in this. This is why I think a lot of people, it leads to being pack rats. It leads to them, well, if I buy 5, I get the 6th one free. So I should buy 5 of them. But if there's no expiration date and I'm going to use them in like 3 years, I should buy all of them. In my opinion, having clutter is literally taking time away from you every single day, just managing it, organizing it, storing it, cleaning it. And the less junk and clutter that I have in my life, the happier I am. If I have to make an extra stop at the store or have, Uber Eats or a Grubhub or potentially even having like Instacart deliver me an extra few groceries a couple times a year because I'm not buying in bulk, like 10 tubes of toothpaste and 10 jugs of hair gel, like, trust me, I can handle the extra couple dollars in order to have a less cluttered life. In my opinion, clutter is something that slows you down, takes up time, and ultimately leads to a lower net worth. Number 6, it says that they invest in their network. All right, so he says that I have never had someone invest in me that didn't know me. And most in real estate I own today was purchased from sellers who picked me over their qualified buyers because we had existing relationships. So investing in these relationships says, so invest time and resources into making and maintaining the right connections. This is definitely true. I definitely think it's a positive thing to make good connections. It's easier than ever to do this online. Facebook groups, finding an online community of your small business owners, your niche is extremely important. Find a community where you can bounce ideas off of them, learn from people that have done it before, and grow the business to the size that you want to grow your company. Number 7, they are never content. I don't like this one simply because my personal definition of success is contentment. I went to Africa back when I was 18 years old. I went there twice, but the first time I went to Nairobi for 6 weeks, did a bunch of medical volunteering, and then went to a bunch of orphanages. And I saw kids that had nothing. Their parents had basically left them for dead. And these kids were the happiest, most fun-loving kids. And their whole day was made over like a little thing of bubbles or a soccer ball. They were so content. And in my opinion, my personal opinion, you are successful when you reach a place of contentment. And the dollar amount of whether or not you are content, I don't feel is directly correlated to someone's happiness. So how much money you make, your level of contentment, I feel like those variables are not connected. Obviously, I do believe that money can buy things that make you happy in the short term, but that I don't think that happiness necessarily directly correlates to contentment. And so these are things that can be debated, but I get where he's coming from, that they always are hungry. They're wanting more. But it goes against my ethos, and that is, you're successful when you become content. And if you become content, it actually makes you very dangerous because now you have nothing to lose, and you can operate your business from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. I think sometimes people that are never content, they operate out of a place of scarcity, and things are going to go away, and it could potentially lead to health problems, relationship problems, and ultimately affecting the business. Number 8, he says they don't waste time trying to do everything themselves. I think this is extremely important, and that's delegation in your small business. You have to have systems in place, but once you have systems in place, you got to then find people to be able to operate those systems when you aren't around. Because ultimately, the thing that so many small business owners fall into is we simply own a job. And when you go to sell your business, typically what's going to be of value is the assets. Then you got like your contacts and your contracts, any recurring revenue that's coming to the business. There's value to that. And then the third thing that most people never actually build up is the systems and the branding that can outlast the owner. So if you were removed from your business, would the business continue to bring in new leads? Would it continue to get more customers? And would it continue to thrive, grow, and increase in profits? That can only be done if you've been delegating, creating systems, and ensuring that the brand lives beyond just you and is more systems centric instead of personality dependent.